What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to jump back over and continue our coverage over the Reign of X era of X-Men comics, and we actually pick up with Excalibur number 16 and number 17. Now, with that being said, we actually pick up with Excalibur after Bessie Braddock has returned, because remember, after X of Swords, you had the Excalibur team kind of going around and try to figure out what happened to Bessie Braddock. Because in X of Swords, that massive crossover that we did, basically Bessie Braddock had quote unquote died. Now, of course, we know she did not die. It's just that her soul was kind of transported to a different universe in the multiverse. Now, with her soul being transported to a different universe, she basically took over that universe version of herself, and she had to find a way back into the main Marvel universe. But of course, at the end of our last video, what we saw was Bessie Braddock being able to actually reach some kind of portal to take her back to the main Marvel universe. And right when she touched that portal, well, back at the main Marvel universe, while you had Excalibur fighting against the Coven of COPPA, well, you had Bessie Braddock reappear. And so now the Excalibur team believes that Bessie Braddock is actually back, which is great. But, of course, there's something else wrong with Bessie Braddock. And you see what I mean as we dive into today's video. Now, before we are actually able to explore what's wrong with Bessie Braddock, we actually pick up with Saturnine, because when it comes to Excalibur, Saturnine is very important to the Excalibur book. Now, with that being said, Saturnine is kind of like the person in charge of Otherworld, but also she's technically in charge of the new birth of the Captain Britain Corps. Now, of course, right now you have COPPA asking to actually talk to Saturnine, but Saturnine doesn't want to talk to COPPA people at all. And the reason why? Because their universe lacks a Captain Britain, meaning that Bessie Braddock went missing, and so with her being gone, technically right now there is no Captain Britain. Because remember, Bessie Braddock became Captain Britain at the very beginning of the Excalibur book. And so right now, it's Saturnine saying, hey, listen, I know you want to talk to me and all, but because you guys have no Bessie Braddock, meaning that you have no Captain Britain, I'm not going to talk to you guys until you actually fix that problem. Now, that right there is actually very important. And the reason why, because at the end of our last video, Bessie Braddock came back. But this is Saturnine saying, no, you still don't have a Captain Britain, meaning that did the Excalibur team actually get the right Bessie Braddock back? Because if not, that means, yes, the main Marvel universe does not have a Captain Britain. Now, we actually do pick up with the Excalibur team right now. And of course, you have the Excalibur team kind of watching Bessie Braddock, because right after she came back, she went right back to the lighthouse, or really near the ocean of the lighthouse, and just been floating there for a period of time. And she asked the Excalibur team to give her some privacy. Now, that right there is kind of important, because for Rogue, she's wondering, is this actually Bessie Braddock? Because we watch her die in X of Swords, and then we see her come back out of nowhere, and now she's asking for privacy, and she won't let anyone get near to her to talk to her. Now, you did have the Excalibur team actually bring over Rachel Summers, of course, the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops, from a different timeline. But you have Rachel Summers actually trying to read the mind of Bessie Braddock, and Rachel Summers was able to tell Rogue, yeah, that's Bessie Braddock. Like, all of her memories check out. She remembers COPPA. She remembers this universe. She remembers a lot of things that we all went through as the X-Men. And so it's technically her. But for some reason, Rogue is actually very worried about Bessie Braddock and wonder, is there something actually wrong with her? Now, that is the moment you have Emma Frost appear. Now, Emma Frost, she's ticked off. For a good reason why, I guess, to her, because you have to remember, Emma Frost is part of the Quiet Council. And you have to remember, when it comes to the Quiet Council is kind of like the government system of COPPA, and Emma Frost is part of that council. Now, with that being said, this is Emma Frost kind of saying, listen, you guys should have told us that Betsy Braddock is alive again, because Cerebro had told the Quiet Council, hey, listen, in my files, I had Betsy Braddock dead, but hey, she's alive again. And matter of fact, the Excalibur team has her at the lighthouse. So Emma Frost came here to tell the Excalibur team they have a mission. Now, this is the moment you have Betsy Braddock kind of ignore Emma Frost and just walks away and says that she is going to take a bath, that she does not want to be bothered at all, basically with Emma Frost. Now, you then have Emma Frost talk to the Excalibur team to tell them what their mission is. That right now they have to go to Otherworld to talk to Saturnine. Now, remember, Otherworld is kind of like this alternate universe, or not universe, but dimension that is connected to every single universe in the multiverse, but also connected to a whole lot of different dimensions across the Marvel landscape. And so with that, you have the Excalibur team being assigned to go to Otherworld to talk to Saturnine, because remember, back in X of Swords, if an X-Men character dies in Otherworld, they come back corrupted. Because remember, Jonathan Hickman was able to give the X-Men the ability to come back to life after they die, thanks to 5 mutants who are able to make you a clone body, but download your memories into the clone body. So that's a way for you to come back to life. But the problem is, though, if you die in Otherworld, you come back corrupted. Like all of your memories that were basically saved in Cerebro, it comes in corrupted to your new clone body. And so the problem they have right now is, if someone dies in Otherworld, they come back corrupted. That's a huge problem. And so now the Excalibur team has to go to Otherworld, talk to Saturnine, and figure out how in the world can they fix this problem and help mutants who die at Otherworld come back correctly. Now, things only get worse because you didn't have the Excalibur team actually have dinner. Now, of course, you're wondering, Fresh, how does that make things worse? The Excalibur team is having dinner? Like, come on, dude. But this is why I say things get worse, because while you have the Excalibur team having dinner, once again, you have Betsy Braddock not wanting to be near the rest of the Excalibur team. She's not even eating food at all. And so it's kind of like, what in the world is going on? Now, that is the moment you actually do have Betsy Braddock's niece appear, the daughter of Brian Braddock. Of course, Brian Braddock, who used to be Captain Britain, but now he is not, but he is still the brother of Betsy Braddock. But either way, you have Betsy Braddock's niece appear, which is Maggie. I want to say she's Maggie because I get her and her mom name confused. But either way, when Maggie appears, she sees Betsy Braddock. She's like, Auntie is back? Auntie Betsy is back. Oh my God, it's huge. I'm going to tell Dad. Now, of course, as soon as Maggie leaves, Betsy Braddock gets very upset about the idea that she was seen by somebody from her own family, so she leaves. And so when Brian Braddock comes back to see that his sister is alive again or not, because his daughter said, hey, Dad, I just saw Auntie Betsy, she's alive, and they come back, she's gone. You have Brian yelling at the Excalibur team like, why did you tell me that my own sister is alive again? I watched her die back in the X of Swords crossover event. But then you have Rogue say, we're kind of trying to figure out if it's her or not, because we have this weird feeling that right now, that is not Betsy Braddock. But again, we're not for sure. Now, you do actually have Rogue talk to Brian more about the idea that maybe they don't have Betsy Braddock, about the idea that they technically could have another version of Bessie Braddock from a different universe. They have no idea at all. But of course, this is Brian Braddock kind of believing Rogue that there could be something wrong, or actually wrong, with Bessie Braddock. And so is Brian asking Rogue to leave so that he'll be able to actually think about the idea there could be something wrong with his sister, or the idea they do have a different universe version of Bessie Braddock here in their universe. But right after Rogue leaves, that is the moment you do have Bessie Braddock appear, and she does use her psychic powers as a way to control the mind of Brian Braddock to make him go back over to Avalon. Now, of course, this right here is very important because when it comes to the gates of COPPA, only mutants are allowed to use those gates. And when it comes to Brian Braddock, he is not a mutant at all. He is a human being. Now, his brother, Jamie, and also his sister, Bessie, they're mutants. But Brian is not. He's the only one to come out human. But either way, though, he was sent back over to Avalon. Now, that is the moment you do have Bessie Braddock actually go over to Rogue, and she tags Rogue. You know how you used to play tag when you're a young kid? You tag somebody and run away. Well, you have Bessie Braddock actually tag Rogue in her mind and then runs away. And so Rogue is kind of like, this girl just tagged me and left. That's weird. That's strange. Okay, you know what? I am basically going to find her. And so Rogue wakes up trying to find her, but then Rogue realizes that Brian Braddock is also missing. And so you have the entire Excalibur team wake up and trying to figure out where Bessie Braddock is and where Brian Braddock is. Now, Rogue was able to figure out that Bessie Braddock is on COPPA, but you didn't have Gambit going over to Avalon to make sure that Brian is okay. And so you have the team kind of split up to take care of these different problems. Now, you do have Gambit go over to Avalon, where he does run into Jamie Braddock, the third sibling of the Braddock family. Of course, the brother to Betsy and the brother to Brian as well. Now, of course, remember, Jamie is the king of Avalon, a certain section in Otherworld. But either way, though, you do have Gambit coming to Jamie like, hey, have you seen Brian? Have you seen Betsy? And when it comes to Jamie, he's like, nope, I have not seen either one of the two at all. But hey, wait a second, you said Betsy. Bessie is still dead. And that is the moment we have to realize Jamie had no idea that Bessie Braddock is alive again. So Gambit's all like, no, she's alive again, but she's acting weird, doing a lot of weird things. But then that's the moment you have Jamie say, well, you know what? I did make an extra Bessie Braddock. And that right there is huge. Because remember, in the earlier books of Excalibur, Jamie went to Mr. Sinister to cash in on their deal. Because remember, back in X of Swords, Mr. Sinister had to ask Jamie for help. Jamie did help, but Jamie said, you still owe me a favor. And apparently, Jamie did cash in on that favor. And when it comes to Sinister, he's known as a guy who makes clones. Prime example, Madeline Pryor. And so it's kind of like, did he make a clone of Bessie Braddock? Now, we actually do pick back up with Rogue and Richter. Now, before Rogue is able to go over to COPPA to find this Bessie Braddock that is running around, you actually have Rogue go with Richter. Now, Richter, you have to remember, he actually built some kind of bond with Apocalypse. Now, you could say that it was Richter kind of building a father-son-like relationship with Apocalypse, or you could say that Richter actually did care for Apocalypse in a more romantic way, or you could also say that Richter just a dude who actually cared for Apocalypse a lot. Either way, though, when it comes to Richter, he cared for Apocalypse a lot. Now, the reason why what I'm saying this to you is because Richter actually does go back to the old lab of Apocalypse, where Apocalypse was looking over a bunch of different magical spells that could basically do a lot of different things. But the reason why Richter had brought Rogue here is saying that, listen, if you're telling us right now there's something wrong with Bessie Braddock, meaning that the one we have right now is not actually our Bessie Braddock, and our Bessie Braddock is still trapped somewhere in the multiverse, we're going to need magic to kind of help us out. We're going to need magic to bring back the real Bessie Braddock, but to handle the fake one as well. And so this is Richter saying, I'm going to learn the magic that Apocalypse left behind for us to actually use. Now we do jump back over to Gambit, where of course you have Gambit following Jamie into an unknown room. I say an unknown room, but honestly it's kind of like a prison. But either way, you do have Gambit following Jamie into this prison, where of course we are reminded that right now Jamie is still holding on to Morgan Le Fay. And remember, Morgan Le Fay was the first bad guy that the Excalibur team had a fight against at the very beginning of the Excalibur book in the Dawn of X era of X-Men comics. But with that being said, though, you actually do have Jamie say, listen, I'm holding on to Morgan Le Fay because technically she is a danger to our nations, talking about COPPA. But then you have Jamie say, but this is what I want to show you, a coffin. Inside this coffin, I was holding a body that's basically a clone of Bessie Braddock. Because this is Jamie saying that I had a feeling that Bessie Braddock did not actually die back in the X of Swords crossover, that her soul was just transported somewhere else. But I realized that if we're going to get her soul back, she's going to need a body. And so what I did was I asked Mr. Sinister, we're left to believe he did ask Mr. Sinister to make a clone body of Bessie Braddock, but not technically alive, so that when it comes time for the actual soul of Bessie Braddock to return, her soul can just go right back into this new clone body, and bam, Bessie Braddock should come back. The problem is, though, when you have Gambit and Jamie open up the coffin, the body that basically Jamie Braddock had Mr. Sinister make is not there. So we're left to believe now that basically the Bessie Braddock that's running around is technically the one that Jamie made with Mr. Sinister. Now, getting back over to Richter and Rogue, you do have Richter actually take Rogue to a different part of the island that's kind of sealed up by Apocalypse. And so right now is Richter and Rogue actually trying to access this hidden area. But while they're trying to do that right there, that is the moment you have Bessie Braddock actually attack Rogue and Richter. And so now it's Rogue versus Bessie Braddock, or Rogue versus Captain Britain. And you're kind of like, oh my gosh, can this fight actually happen? And will it actually be cool? Well, the fight is actually short-lived for a very good reason why. Because Bessie Braddock is actually knocked out by Psylocke. Or you could say Kawanin. I forgot what code name she's actually using at the moment. But remember, there is a special history between these two characters. Because back in the 1990s, Marvel had this bright idea to have Bessie Braddock and Kawanin basically switch bodies. And for some reason, for years and years and years, I mean literally years, Marvel never switched their bodies back until I want to say maybe 2016, 2017. I could be wrong. But either way, it's been a very long time since they had switched bodies back. And so it makes sense to bring Psylocke into this storyline as a way for Bessie Braddock to actually return the correct way. But of course, you have Psylocke knock out this supposed Bessie Braddock. Now, when we jump into the next chapter of this storyline, we actually pick up with Earth 13059, or better known as 13,059. But either way, though, we actually pick up with another version of Bessie Braddock. But this version is known as Elizabeth Braddock. And right now you have her meditating. And while she was meditating, she was able to kind of find out that the original Bessie Braddock, the one from the main Marvel universe, is still alive. She's just bouncing around throughout the multiverse right now. And so you actually have this other version of Bessie Braddock being able to say, I found our missing captain. Call up the rest of the Captain Britain Corps. Because remember, at the end of X of Swords, we were given a new version of the Captain Britain Corps. Because remember, it was wiped out by Jonathan Hickman back in Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers and Secret Wars. And so it came back at the end of X of Swords, but it came back as Bessie Braddock's versions across the multiverse, making the new Captain Britain Corps. But now this other version of Bessie is saying, I found her. I found her, and we need to help her. And so you do have the Captain Britain Corps actually come together and they go talk to Saturnine. Now remember, Saturnine is the one in charge of Otherworld, but on top of that, Saturnine is also the person who basically runs the Captain Britain Corps, or she's supposed to. Now, with that being said, you have the Captain Britain Corps go to Saturnine and say, hey, listen, we found the soul of the missing Captain Britain, the one from the main Marvel Universe, and we feel like if we put her soul right back into the main Marvel Universe, then she'll be able to actually come back to life. But Saturnine says no, because Saturnine hates the idea of this new version of the Captain Britain Corps, because it's not Brian Braddock. Instead, it is Bessie Braddock, and she hates that with a passion. And so you have Saturnine tell the Captain Britain Corps, I'm not going to help you. No, she gave up. She lost that battle in X of Swords, and you know how magic works. If you use magic, magic comes with a cost. And when she fought against, I forgot who she fought against in X of Swords, but basically, because she died in X of Swords and she used magic, magic comes with a cost. And so she died. That was her cost. Goodbye. And she closed the door on the Captain Britain Corps. Now, the Captain Britain Corps says this right here, which is actually very important. They say, listen, we do not serve her. Yes, we protect the Citadel, the home of Saturnine, but we don't actually serve her. And we have other ways to actually put the soul back into the main Marvel Universe, meaning that they're going to go over to Avalon, because Avalon is part of Otherworlds, but there is a Krakoan gate that leads over to Krakoa, the main Marvel Universe. And so this is them saying, we'll put the soul through that gate as a way to bring her back to life. Now, of course, some time does pass by, and we actually pick up with the Excalibur team right now with the soul of Bessie Braddock. And of course, the body of the fake Bessie Braddock that was made by Jamie Braddock and also Mr. Sinister. Now, of course, their main goal is to put the body of Bessie Braddock, the soul of Bessie Braddock, into the body of the fake Bessie Braddock that Jamie had made thanks to Mr. Sinister. But the problem is, though, the soul is not going inside the body. And you have Richter using one of Apocalypse spells as a way to hopefully put the soul into the body, but it's still not working. Like something is preventing the soul to actually go into the body of the fake Psylocke that was made by Jamie Braddock. And that is the moment you have Psylocke say, because someone is trying to sabotage the ritual. And that is the moment you have Psylocke actually break open the cage that was holding the soul of Bessie Braddock. And of course, the soul runs away. And it's Psylocke saying that for some strange reason, Bessie Braddock was kind of sabotaging the ritual herself. It's kind of like she does not want to be put into that new body, and no one understands why. And so you have Psylocke say, it's probably best for me to go after her to figure out why in the world she was trying to sabotage the own ritual. Because remember, when it comes to Psylocke and Bessie Braddock, they have a long history with one another, and only recently they were put back in their original bodies after having their bodies swapped for so many years. But this is Psylocke saying, I'm better off going alone to figure out why Bessie Braddock is trying to sabotage a ritual that can technically bring her back to life. And so you do have Psylocke follow the soul of Betsy Braddock around Otherworld. Now, this actually leads into another storyline we're going to do when it comes to the Excalibur books. But this is actually a very important moment that I really do like, because you have Psylocke actually go over to Betsy Braddock. And when she follows the soul of Betsy Braddock and being able to actually trap the soul somewhere so that they can actually talk to one another, and when Betsy Braddock actually enter into the mind of the soul of Betsy Braddock, they're able to communicate. And when it comes to this Betsy Braddock, which is the main Marvel Universe Betsy Braddock, the reason why she was so scared to go into that new body, because she failed. Because to her mindset, she failed as an X-Men. She failed as Captain Britain. She died in X of Swords. She failed over and over and over again. And she's tired of failing. And honestly, I understand that completely. But either way, it's Betsy Braddock saying, I'm just done. I'm done failing. I'm done dying. I'm done losing everything around me. I just can't do it anymore. But of course, it's then Psylocke telling her, you didn't lose. You did something great after you died. Because when you died, you broke into a billion pieces. But those pieces led to Saturnine realizing what she had to do to save Krakoa, to save Earth, to save Otherworld, to save everything. Betsy, you brought back the Captain Britain core. And that's true. Back at the end of X of Swords, she did that. She brought back the Captain Britain core. Even though she was dead, her soul, her spirit, her ability to go against Saturnine and to bring back one of the special groups in Marvel Comics is to show Betsy Braddock, you didn't fail. You actually succeeded. You actually were able to bring something back the multiverse needed. And so with that, it's Betsy Braddock kind of like, okay, you're right. I didn't fail. I had to fight over my pain. I had to see something that I can believe in. And I saw something thanks to you, Psylocke. And so you have Psylocke being able to grab the soul of Betsy Braddock to take her back over to the body that was made by Jamie Braddock and also Sinister. Now, of course, once Psylocke is able to bring the soul back over to the body that Sinister and Jamie made, that is the moment you actually do have the spell work. You have the soul go into the body, and of course, Betsy Braddock is now alive again in the main Marvel Universe. But here comes a big problem, because that is the moment you have Betsy Braddock actually cough up some kind of necklace. And when she does that, another soul leaves the body of Betsy Braddock. It tries to grab Rogue, but unfortunately Rogue was able to resist it, but that soul went through one of the many gates of Krakoa. And that is the moment you have Rogue say, we have another problem. A character we have not seen in a little bit of time. It's Malice. She's back. And that right there is huge, because Malice is a very interesting character that's going to bring us another interesting storyline for Excalibur, but in the next video. So with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video. And if you do, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.